Hello, it's Stephen Bedard again and another episode of my video blog. Just this past weekend I was at the Apologetics Canada conference in Barrie, Ontario. I had a great time there. I encourage you to check out the Apologetics Canada website. It's apologeticscanada.com. And it just got me thinking about apologetics and why we should bother doing apologetics. I guess you could call this an apologetic for apologetics. And I certainly have received a lot of pushback from people who don't think apologetics is appropriate. And I just want to talk for a few minutes about that, whether we should even be caring about this. Should we be having conferences on this? Should we be having books and podcasts and blogs and all the other stuff that people are spending so much time on? Well, here's a couple things to be thinking about. First of all, I think you can look at apologetics in two different ways. One on the evangelism side and one on the discipleship side. On the evangelism side, a lot of people would just say, well, you can't argue people into heaven. And what they mean by that, I don't think they mean that literally, in that you can't yell at people and scream at them until they become Christians. Obviously, everyone agrees with that. But what some people mean by that is you can't just put out arguments. You can't just give evidence and expect that people are automatically going to become Christians. Well, of course, everyone knows that. The Holy Spirit has to be involved. There's all kinds of other things that are taking place. But I would want to ask this question. For those who don't think apologetics is important in terms of evangelism, if you are talking to someone and they seem genuinely interested and they ask, I'm really struggling with this whole idea that Jesus rose from the dead. Is there any evidence that this actually took place? How would they respond? Would they say, well, I'm sorry, I don't believe in apologetics. I'm not going to answer your question. Really? Is that really what they're going to do? No, they're going to share some of the evidence that we have that Jesus rose from the dead. It's just a natural part. When people have questions, you answer them. I mean, is there another way to do evangelism? I just don't see it. Not everyone will become a Christian strictly through providing evidences for the existence of God or anything else like that. But those things may play a part. They help to pave the way for the person to become a Christian. So what about on the discipleship side? A lot of people don't want apologetics because they don't want to have just a purely rationalistic faith. Well, I don't want a rationalistic faith or a purely rationalistic faith anyways. I want more than that. Now, people say, well, I don't want all these intellectual things. I want to have a relationship with God. Well, I want to have a relationship with God too. But since when do relationships mean you can't have information or knowledge or truth? Think about it on the human side. You enter into a relationship with a person, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or something else. You want to have information about that person. You want knowledge. You ask them questions. So, where did you go to school? And what are you interested in? What are your hobbies? All of those things. Those things are important. Every relationship I've had, I've sought knowledge. Whether it's my parents, I always ask them questions about what it was like when they grew up and what are the things that they did and what were they interested in. And when I got married, or before I got married, when I was dating my wife, I asked her question after question after question. And even my kids, I know a lot of information about my kids, but I'm always asking them things to learn more about what they're interested in. So we can have these things. We can ask these questions. In fact, if you go through Paul's letters, and you, especially in the first chapter of many of his letters, you'll find that Paul frequently pairs knowledge and love together. He doesn't see them as being opposites. So why should we see them as being opposites? To seek a better understanding of who God is and of the nature of Jesus and all of these other questions, there is no reason why we should see those as being against our relationship with God. Paul didn't see it that way. The Bible doesn't see it that way. I don't see that way, and I don't see why anyone else should see it that way either. So there's just a couple things of why I think apologetics really have a good place for us, and the reasons against it just don't hold water. So thanks for listening, and come and visit me on my webpage, stephenjbedard.com, and hope you have a blessed day.